daydreamers, welcome back to the Dream Weavers channel. Hey, 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 where every journey starts with a dream. Here is Beatrice, and today I've got a story that's going to inspire you to the moon and back. Our guest is a transformational coach. Well, talk about impressive, right? He went from facing huge challenges in the streets of Ejiso in Ghana to becoming the world's first Black professional mBIT trainer in Africa. So buckle up and get ready to be inspired by the one and only Scofray Nana Yaw Yeboah. Hey, Nana Kwaba, I welcome you to the Dream Reverse platform. And to begin with, I would like us to kick off our conversation by diving into your early life. How was it like growing up for you?
Thank you for the opportunity. And this about me. I was born and raised in Koforidua, a suburb of Abisu. So Abisu, we lived in 205, then we used to call it New Draben before Smith Flat came. I've lived in two streams. My dad is deceased. He was a common known face in Abisu. My mom is still alive. I have two siblings. Growing up with, if I look at my mom's background, my mom is not educated. She does not come from a wealthy one. My dad also, yes, my dad is, even though my dad comes from the Kopon, he was not born and bred in Kopon. He was raised somewhere in Central region. So if you put both sides of the parents back to back, you realize that it's just a stark reality of poverty. I mean, when others have, even even to have, then we call it Charlie Water Bluebird, or even white bluebirds, it's hardly you even get this bluebird. When your parents can afford you bluebird, it's Christmas. It's a whole Christmas endeavor. So woe unto you when you go and play in this place one of the bluebird. It's done. I mean, done for you. When it comes to home, you walk barefoot. And it was one of my experiences. I remember, I think from class 4, or what others we call primary 4. I think the last time I received a gift of pair of shoes from my parents. When others were privileged to wear new school uniform, I remember at St. Dominic's, when the government of the day introduced this, what we call the cream and the khaki, what back then we used to call containing catching point. At St. Dominic's, my sister was the first student, very, very first student who had the privilege to wear. So her design was sort of the model I remember St. Dominic used for the ladies. And guess what? I was left behind. I was still in my tattered shorts and all that. One time in class 5, I think Miss Comforter Day of Blessed Memories, if I can remember her right, called me and said, "Why are you always in pullover? Even in the hot afternoon, why are you always in pullover?" And I don't know whether she suspected something or not, but said, "Come, remove the pullover and feel free. The weather is hot." You know, in Afghanistan, so she didn't know what the pullover was covering because my shirt at the back of it is sewn tattered. My shorts, you know, there was what we call rolling spectacles, where there are two holes at the two sides, your buttocks, one here, so like rolling spectacles. And she was somebody who knew my dad and my mom because they used to buy food stuff from us. So for some reason, she persisted and got my pullover removed. And here I was, my bottom was torn, my shirt and everything. And I remember she confronted my dad later on that, I mean, look at what you've done for the sister and your son, your firstborn. And I alone, and that is the picture of the challenge I was in. She was the only sister we had. I have a brother, another brother, named after her mother, named after my dad's mother, my grandmother. So there was that connection in between her, my dad, and my sister, and which I love. Something I inherited to do also for my kids. Through to JSS, when others have privilege of, those days pamphlets, people used to write books, but it was more or less like pamphlets and everything.
Yeah.
When others had a privilege of buying pamphlets to organize studies, even a size book, if not what the school give to you as exercise book, there was nothing else I get. If not the textbook in school, there was nothing else I could get. So the those pamphlets, as we call them then, were a savior. And guess what? I couldn't say I'm taking one home for my dad to buy for me. I think in GSS1, this is social studies or cultural studies. These were some of my favorite subjects. So a book was brought. I took some home. I saw there. I was reading through, and I saw it with red on it. And my daddy came home and he was like, "Who even asked you to bring this book home? Because I'm not going to buy for you and pay for it.
Oh,
So take the book back."
back.
Hey, I've saw the book too. And the school coming then it means I won't go to school. I don't want to go to school. So even when I dress that I'm going to school, I'm lying. I'll go and hike. And
Wow.
when it's closing for almost like 2-3 weeks. And I think for some reason, one of my teachers met my dad and had to confirm that, how come that for 3 weeks I've not been in school? So I thought I had gone home already and I'm coming from school. And in the evening, after my dad came, were you in school? I said, yes. What did you study? I for something. And he gave the hell of beating out of me and said that it's like you are put into shame. I said, it's like this. This is the reason I couldn't go. So whatever it is, I had to go back to school. I remember Madam Cecilia Bodua, she was in charge of vocational skills and life skills. So she ended up paying for the pamphlet for me. And guess she was the one who confirmed my dad I have not been in school. So in GSS, she was like a mother to me, Madam Cecilia Bodua, Beatrice, Sibe, Miss Appeal to Reverend Ansley of late breath of memory, a couple of them. So I noticed that my background, I was more than an average student, but you cannot more than an average student and not have at least a certain support. So I was always in between.
Mhm.
It was as though I was never good enough, especially when it comes to my dad. It was as though I was never good enough for him. No provision for. My mom couldn't read and write, so there was no way she could help me with even my homework. Or my dad, who could read, by the middle school leaving certificates, the courses are two different. He's not a university graduate, so it was a challenge from all angles for me. And it took me through BC. I remember I got admitted from all those challenging, difficult bugs. I think all that work was that 1 week towards exams that I decided to just, okay, let me do what I can do with what is available.
Right.
So when I go to school, Emmanuel Afo, he was our boys prefect. For some reason, I had connection with some of this caliber of people. He was a very good friend from GSS1 through to GSS3. He was quite a very sharp guy. So in his corner, I get to read what he reads. I get to read what he reads. Being a boys prefect, little privileges here and there. I get to. And so to sit for that exams and even come up with that grade suggested to me I was more than average. What was required was certain environment that could have stimulated the best out of me. Look, my upbringing, in SS, for instance, I will sell coconut, I will sell sugarcane. My mom was a petty trader, so from that primary to GSS, when she goes to buy tomatoes and all those stuff, I will go selling. I think recently on Facebook, one of my childhood friends, a picture was going to say, "Me or this one," because that was how I sold my stuff. when you hear me, Mamian, this one kind of, you know it's me, and Tablet Sun is coming. That is Mamian on this one, kind of. So low cost at this estate, a bit of that enclave. If you hear Mamian at this one, then it was me. So, and Mamian at this one. So, and interestingly, because we were growing together, we attended, most of us attended the same school.
Okay.
So St. Dominic's, closest to, I think, experimental, Presby.
Mm-hmm.
So from St. Dominic's, when you hit into Batum, you meet Presby, then the Methodist. So all of us growing up knew each other, even if we attended this different schools. If it's Catholic, there are about 4 Catholic schools, once in a while you meet. So my story of poverty here, it was not hidden, it was a public knowledge. And I remember in secondary school, I used to do shoe shine, what others call cobra. Here we call it shoe shine. So Saturdays is my business day. I had families who were friends that I used to go and mend their broken and torn shoes, and they pay me for it. As I think even the SS1, I had a classmate whose shoe, because of the family, I had to polish all of them, work on their shoes, classmates. So I meant work for them on Saturdays. Monday, I sit with him in the same class in secondary school, Koforia September. So it was not a pleasant space to come from.
Yes.
It wasn't a pleasant space to come from, because everything was a known life for everybody. Even those in quotes, maybe you are intelligent than them, you go to service their broken shoes, mend their slip, everything, those kind of events. You'll be running errands for people. I think recently I was talking to somebody about those challenging backgrounds, and sometimes what do I run errands for?
Mm-hmm.
For bread, leftover food, sometimes even shirt, dresses. But maybe those who kids are in Accra, those who they have to give their used dresses to you. So I went through all these phases, but one thing I think kept my head afloat was, for some reason, I knew that was not my portion. Like, that was not all that is to be me.
Right.
Because I had a privilege. I said privilege because there are some homes, like in secondary school, I had a relationship with a family called the Al Hassans, if I got their name right. Okay. Their father was the original manager of Smith. I'm talking about 1993, 94, 95, I think 96, thereabout. Their father was the original manager. So that's an affluent home. So I go to service their shoes, mend their stars and everything. When I get opportunity, help the household chores. As I gained, I'll say, favor with them, I moved from working around the environment, got access. As for kitchen, there will be always food. So at least coming from the difficult challenge, there was enough food in the kitchen. So that one, when I got access to the kitchen, that means also to give me access to food. But one of the powerful lessons I learned from that home is humanity. They don't sift through. The father, the mother, and even their kids, they don't sift through, like, I can say almost them. Right. When they bond with you, they bond with you. It's not what you have or you don't have. The only thing I need to do is I should have to bath and go to, because that home is a proper and good home. I need to make sure, even if it's my turn short or whatever, I need to make sure I have taken my bath. And it was in that house I learned how to use cutlery, because now I became a friend of the family property, so they can invite me to dinner, and that was where I learned how to use cutlery. My home, there's even no table to say you are going to learn how to use cutlery. So all these were how I would say, a foretaste and insight into a certain leverage of life that can support your kids, of a sort that can give them certain insight. So my 3 years in Koforia sector, I studied visual art. Already, it's a course that it shouldn't be studied because the stigma, the shame, the way it is even teachers themselves don't accord it with that. Then so anything that is junk work is the job. I mean, it cuts across. Not in my school alone back then. Then I moved to Begro. I studied Thai and entrepreneurship, and a sister of mine said that she may see. I owe her all this compliment. Said, where she was working, there was an opportunity for a teacher to come and teach textiles and Batita and I. Then because I had done entrepreneurship as part of the whole course, so I got opportunity. So I left home. I would say I left home organically for safety's sake. I left home at the age of 20. I think in 2000. Then that was where I had an encounter with me. I say so because that is true. Dr. Caroline is his Fuqua, Seahawks, Joyce Christie, a host of leading then transformational trainers had come from America to adopt the goal as a place to give back to Africa, because majority of them were Black Americans, to give back to Africa in a way. And we were privileged to have the goal adopted, I think, for 5 years. So the fourth year, in 2001, they had come to test the waters, done to one of the trainings. So now they realized that, okay, there's something they can do more. So I got an opportunity to join the training. We call it Vista or Life Design Integrated Training.
Okay.
That was when I encountered you. That was when I encountered. When I say encountered you, was I remember the first question that was asked centered on something around creation. Genesis 1:26. Something about creation, something. And the question was posed, and I was the first person to respond. I was the first. I mean, they were quite degree holders in the class and in the training. I mean, top level. And me, I'm coming from nowhere. You also boy. So when I answered that question, there was I'm hustling, Charlie, hustling. It's not. It's naked for me. I keep telling people that I encountered poverty. Naked poverty that was in white robe. That was the kind of poverty I knew. Poverty that is naked but in white robes with socks, so that when it walks you can't hear. Right. That is how I describe the poverty I came out from. So when I answered that question, I remember Betty Stu said, "This gentleman, this boy is a diamond in the rough." In fact, that was the first time I heard that. That was the first time I've heard that idiomatic expression. So I began, simmering what is a diamond in the rough. Right. You know how they slang a diamond in the rough. It's started echoing. Started echoing. It started echoing. It's like more or less vibrating. It's like it lifted a lid. Right. And that 9 months journey of the training, it was in stand. We call it the first stage was stand. The second stage was reach. Then the third stage was like 5 months interval call. That was the reach, almost 5 months or something. A lot of activities here and there. I carried my cohort, which happens to be the first cohort to complete the entire training for that 9 months. I carried my cohort through. Wow. And more or less the commander in chief, let's get going, guys. Yet I think we were two who were 20 years, myself and Evelyn Wine. Also, I think, yeah, but everything, let's get going, let's do this, look incredible. And then I remember Sue said, this guy is the team CIC commander in chief. Wow. Because I put them into line. Then that was what sort of got me to say, no, there is more to me than how I've allowed my background, the home I'm coming from, who gave birth to me. Look, I slept on the street. I just saw through one see I can leave home for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, my mom wouldn't know where I am, and I'm off.
Off completely.
Look, I'm off carrying, doing menial jobs in town, never coming home in the evening. People, those days shops, people have, you just put the bench, what we call bench, just put the bench there, you lie on it, the next morning you put name tree in your mouth, brush your teeth, you are going to carry somebody's watch to their selling point. And then, look, I don't have the luxury to linger around and sit alone. I need to fend for myself. When it rains, it's crab catching season for me. The moment it rains the following day, if not, I'll go for those days, the forest around. I'll go with my bobo, the lantern. That bobo, I don't know how you call it in English. I leave it up to you. The milk thing or container thing, you put the wig inside and stuff. That is what I will use midnight, 10 p.m. Into the farms to go looking for snails. Because that's the time they come out.
Oh, okay.
Yes, to go looking for snails. And you get back around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. But if you have good harvest, sometimes, it's crazy. I come home with lots. And when I come, the first thing is to support the family, to give it to my mom, prepare to do whatever must be done with it.
Right.
So McGraw was my turning point. I was still young, so all this still couldn't make full meaning. So in 2002 or 2001, no, I think 2002, I don't know what I was by my participation, by dint of hard work, I was asked to join what we call the staffing team for the training for the Flowing W 2002 in charge of music. So I was seconded to team something to take me through how to play around the system. Those days it was CD player. Look where I'm coming from. I don't use CD. Here they have brought this boom box. That's how we call it, with 4 CD. Like turntable on. So it was even a privilege to be touching those things for me. And I learned it, and it was powerful. Like for me, connected with the trainers. It was one of the conversations that I had about coaching. The trainers were talking about coaching because coaching was flourishing in America at that time.
Okay.
And that was when I heard about coaching. And I knew in Ghana coaching was about soccer.
Right.
So then why are they not talking about soccer? Why are they not talking about sports? Why are they not? So, and I could tell it was different from training. Then I started from there, started researching on what coaching is.
What coaching is,
coaching isn't, and everything. So I needed to do what we call do it yourself. Kept pushing. Then 2004, I came to our country. Okay, I want to see if I can get any other certificate apart from being SSC holder. Came to learn computer hardware. My worldview is wider than it used to be. My understanding of what we call beingness is incredible. And with also a background in neuroscience because of multiple brain integration techniques. Okay. I'm able to integrate philosophy and neuroscience. See, philosophy and neuroscience. For me, it sits. The evidence of philosophy is neuroscience. The driving force into science, unearthing, research, and is also philosophy. So for me, that is where the two sit. So 2 things. Because of generational trauma, I had to fight low self-esteem, low self-confidence. And these 2 always come as a fruit of no self-love. Because my poverty background made me never to have anything to find anything good in me. So it was as if I was using all those relationships as coping mechanisms. Even though I didn't know by default, it's now based on what I do, I have a deeper insight what actually happened and everything. Because we all have what we call the default mode of every human being. So either your nervous system protects you or creates spaces just to keep on protecting you because your worldview is small, the environment, the ecology. There's so much science into it because of what I do now. The science of ecology, the power of your background. See, the power of your background, the space that is nurturing you, it's it's phenomenal that it makes and or make you.
Yeah.
So for me, that is what I tell people. What I do is more than a professional area. For me, what I do is a call, because not everybody. Look, if I take you to Koforidua, the boys I grew up with, I can list more than 10 that have lost their lives. I can list more than 10 that have lost their life to drug addiction or substance abuse. I can list more than 10 that ended up in jail or had a taste of jail because of all these things, misdemeanors, stealing,
Right.
some were involved in rape cases and everything. So if I could come from such a place to get to where I am, it's a double-edged sword. The friends I could go into their homes to help and see through that their parents were trying for them kept the balance for me not to go into those spheres of substance abuse, rape cases, stealing. I mean, yes, if you steal it, it's all you will go to jail.
Right.
So I look at my background as, I would say, like David was raised in the wilderness. When David was sent to go and take care of sheep, for me, I keep saying that was David's university. Because if you could understand taking care of, look, I have reared sheep, goats, fowls, because some of the things I could do to raise money for myself. You don't want to raise a sheep. Go, it's idle. Do this, it is that. So anybody who can be a header,
Right.
shepherd, it takes something. And to also even handle goats, the most stubborn of all that they are breed. Yet David Kumani, so all these were part of my modeling. So that I remember when I could overcome my low self-esteem, when I could overcome my low self-confidence, was that happened in the 2001 course.
And how did you overcome it?
I think it comes from the design of the training.
Okay.
What goes into that training. So when I run corporate trainings now, so people ask, why is your training different?
Right.
Because I make all my trainings transformational. I make all my trainings embodying. So my trainings are not cognitive based. It is holistic, your being. So that was what they do. Because imagine coming from that my difficult background, and I needed to use words, not this affirmation thing, no. Begin to assimilate words. I am a courageous, loving, compassionate, magnificent, sensational young African. These words has nothing to do with low self-esteem, but the more I kept walking in that.
Well, dreamers, wasn't that an incredible journey? Huge thanks to Scofray Nana Yaw Yeboah for sharing his amazing story and dropping some serious wisdom on us today. As a transformational coach, he proved that we can all turn our struggles into strength and your dreams passion. If you loved today's episode, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dreamers. Until next time, keep chasing your dreams and stay safe. Bye for now.